Greg Sankey. Start over.
Hmm?
Just call him Greg.
Gring. Love it.
Here we go. Greg Sankey, non-committal about the future of college football.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Sooner Nation? Welcome to Locked On Sooners, and thank you for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. Tune in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Jay and I are here with you from SEC Media Days, and Greg Sankey took to the podium on Monday to kick things off. And Jay was very non-committal about the future of college football. We're going to also talk about what Garrett Nussmeier had to say about some former Oklahoma Sooners, now his teammates at the LSU Tigers. And Jay, but Greg Sankey. Okay. The biggest questions coming into SEC Media Day, 9-game conference schedule and the future of the college football playoff. And we still have no answers.
Yeah, he was very non-committal on it. And one of the things I thought was interesting was he kept pulling back as people were asking the questions. And the biggest one was about if things don't work out with the 16 model, what does he think will help them be able to push it forward? He basically said, let me pull that back, because that makes it sound like I'm here for a 16 model. If it doesn't work out, we can just go back to 12.
Right.
Things will be fine. Yeah. And to be honest, when I was listening to the leader of the college football playoff, the executive director, he basically said that if we go to 12 and stay at 12, that is a decision in itself.
Yes.
So you're not really getting out of the ability to give an answer. You're basically saying, nah, we're just going to stick to what it is.
And I think for a lot of people, being at 12 is okay. A lot of football fans think 12 is too many. A lot think 12 is the right number. There's not necessarily this huge push, aside from maybe networks and some of the fringe college football playoff teams, to get to 16. Because yes, money is the big driver of all things. But I think Greg Sankey's kind of right on points. Like, if 12 was the number that we got to, and it took a lot of work to get to that number to begin with, why do we need to be in any kind of rush to get to 16?
Yeah, because there really isn't a rush. I think 12 is probably the best number. People want to go to 16, of course, again, for money. But I personally think that if we just stick to 12 and tweak it properly, we'll be fine. The one tweak, and you've all heard me go crazy on this, we really should make it to where all of the games are on a campus up until the Final Four.
Yes.
I don't like the idea of constantly having fans travel, mainly because you should reward your team for having – you should reward the team for having having the home field. That way you're rewarding the fans as well. And it makes it so much cheaper for a lot of us. Yeah. Yes, the road team's going to have to travel, but that's college football, baby. That's the way it works. I would rather that the opposing teams travel and the home team, the ones that keep winning and keeping home field advantage, celebrate the fans. That's how you celebrate them, in my opinion.
And that was the best part of the 2024 college football playoff, is seeing these home environments just absolutely going berserk. Like Kevin Jennings from SMU not being able to hear the play call.
Not at all.
For several plays in a row up there, what was it, Beaver Stadium at Penn State. Like, he struggled. And that's what college football is about. These home environments, that's part of what makes college football so great. The bowls are great. There are some that are better than others, but it's the campuses, man. It's these iconic stadiums across America are what make college football great. And so, yes, I'm with you, man. Like, I'd even say go through the semifinals. If you want a neutral site, the national championship game, and then just make everything else home field, that's where I'm at. Like, keep as many games as possible on these home stadiums, because it just makes the games so much more interesting, entertaining, and it creates so much more drama.
It does, and that's what we're here for, right? We're here for the drama that comes into college football.
Yeah.
But Greg Sankey also was pretty non-committal about going from 8 to 9 games. Now, as we all know, the Big Ten is pushing heavily for the SEC to join them in the 9-game world, similar to what you got at the Big 12. But the SEC's like, but why? If you look at our scheduling, and I love how Sankey kind of did the mic drop of everyone keeps talking about the super conference or the super leagues or whatever. Well, congratulations, you're here now.
Yeah.
This is what we are. The SEC is your super league. So why should we change what we're doing when, we're seeing success from that?
Well, and the fact that they're playing 9 Power 4 games.
Yes, because you're required to play.
So what does it matter if you're playing Houston as that 9th game or you're playing Kentucky or you're playing Vanderbilt, or you're playing Rutgers. Like, what does it matter? You're still playing 9 Power 4 games. I think the 8-game model allows for more of the big time iconic matchups that we're going to get. You know, Texas playing Ohio State week 1, Oklahoma playing Michigan week 2, LSU and Clemson going to battle week 1. Like, those are iconic matchups. Now I get, yes, the ACC, the Big Ten, they're playing those matchups and they're playing 9 conference games, but go look at Penn State's schedule, please, and tell me what they've got going on, because okay, they've got a 9-game conference schedule, but that is nothing. Yes, they have got some big time Big Ten teams on it, but they've also got a lot of also-rans, and their non-conference schedule is soft. SAWFT, soft.
But that's the thing too, is that you have to also try to compare top to bottom the conferences to each other, and truly you can't. Big Ten is so top heavy. Now, granted, they've got like 48 teams on there, so sure, 24 of them will look like they're very strong because it's the first half.
Right.
But what about the other half of it? And that was hyperbole, folks. They've only got 18 teams in their conference, but it doesn't absolve them of this statement. A lot of their conference is roughly 6 teams, whereas with the SEC, you can get down to at least 10 that's going to be very competitive. And on a good year, 14. There was one year the SEC had every single team make it to a bowl game. And you're like, what? How? And they were just beating up on each other in the middle, and the teams at the top, you know, they took care of business in that capacity.
Well, and just look at last year. Everybody but Mississippi State had a big time SEC win. Kentucky beat Ole Miss. Oklahoma beat Alabama. Vanderbilt beat Alabama. Arkansas beat Tennessee. Everybody had a big time SEC win. So top to bottom, it was a deep conference. And some of those wins kept the SEC from getting 4 playoff teams. And that's the depth that we're talking about. Now, expanding to 16 teams, we didn't really cover this. That would benefit the SEC because they could potentially get 4, maybe 5 teams into the playoff. But even if you stay at 12, you're still going to have a chance to get 4 SEC teams in the playoff. But I think that the 8-game schedule, man, I think you're right. Greg Sankey's on this. We're not going to do it just to do it. They've got the data that supports them having stronger schedules than just about everybody else in the country. And you look at whether it's Phil Steele, Pro Football Focus, ESPN, it doesn't matter where you look. Everybody talks about the strength of schedule for the SEC.
And I think one thing that kind of hurts us as, SEC folk is, with the ESPN part and how like FPS has the SEC's, the top 25 is roughly like majority SEC schools. And so, of course, the biases come in there. But the other thing is that when you look at the recruiting sites, when you look at the way the rosters are constructed, that's where all the other people come from. Your Phil Steeles of the world, your Lindy Sports of the world, right? Your Pick Six Previews of the world. PFF. All of them, PFF, all of them come after the actual players to determine who has the strongest teams. And the SEC is always up there. So as longstanding members of the SEC, for us, what we need to understand is that we're going to keep our traditions going, maintain that 8 games, and then go out there. But we've got to stop what the Big Ten has done the last 2 years, which is win national championships.
Yeah, and I think this is going to be one of those years that the SEC gets back to that spot. Because you look at the Big Ten, and this is not Locked On Big Ten, this is not Locked On Michigan or Ohio State, but there's a lot of turnover at the top. Penn State might be the favorite, but until James Franklin goes and beats a big-time team in a big-time environment, I'm not buying it just yet. That's not to say he can't do it. I'm just not there yet. And granted, the SEC has a lot of turnover happening as well, but that's what makes the SEC so intriguing this year. We talked about it with Darinoka. There are so many teams that have a chance to win the SEC this year because there's been so much turnover, so much uncertainty.
I agree that it is going to be a lot of change, and it's going to be intriguing to see what things turn out to be this coming season.
Speaking of changes, Oklahoma updated their roster for the 2025 season. We're going to have a few takeaways from that. Some guys got some good gains. We'll discuss coming up next here on Locked On Sooners. And today's episode of Locked On Sooners is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. We've all been there, logging on early and waiting forever for concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot for a show you've been dying to see. Live music should be about making memories, not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping. That's where Game Time comes in. Game Time makes getting concert tickets faster and easier than ever. Prices actually drop as it gets closer to showtime, and you can save up to 60% off with their killer last-minute deals.
John, there's some good deals going on right now for us here being in Atlanta. Beyonce has a concert going on right now, which is pretty crazy. And the MLB All-Star game is going on. So you got the celebrity game, you've got the actual game itself.
Home run derby.
Right. There's been so many things going on. And looking in Game Time, there's a ton of actual great deals to be able to go check out an experience that's probably once in a lifetime.
So if you're in the Atlanta area or you want to hop on a flight tomorrow and get here, come on down. It's a great place to be right now. You can come say hi to us at SEC Media Days. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets for the concerts, for the shows, for whatever games you're looking for. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Once again, thanks for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there tuning in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Jay, we had some gains on the Oklahoma Sooners football roster for 2025. What was the first thing that stood out to you as we perused the roster today?
So I immediately went and looked at the list as I'm looking at it one more time, and I had to check how big is our boys on the front. That's the only thing I cared about, was what were the big boys looking like on the line. And so, of course, David Stone comes in. He's well over 300. He's at 310. Trent Wilson, when he first got here, he was listed around like 280. And I remember telling folks over on my channel over on Unfair Sports, I was saying, hey, he told me and us that he is over 300 pounds, John. And so I'm like, okay, I think I believe him. Well, now he's listed at 307, 6'3", 307 as a true freshman. He told y'all he wanted to come and play immediately. He's placed himself in a situation to be able to do that. Besides that,
and I'm not going to doubt him.
No, not at all.
And don't tell him if I ever doubt him, because he might get me.
Oh, he may actually get you.
He might come for you.
He's going to come for you. He's definitely going to come for you. But there's two other guys that I thought jumped out the most to me on the gains, and it maintains itself in the trenches, because that's what's most important to me right now. PJ Adebawore, BB's been talking about for a while that he wants to get him over 250 pounds. He needs him over 250 pounds. He's listed at 261. And so if he's healthy and them ankles are holding up, John, we may have ourselves a monster.
He's ready. I mean, that's a dude that's ready to show up and play. Another guy that's ready to show up and play also in the trenches, Ryan Foje, 322, true freshman. And
that's a big boy.
Stood out in spring ball. A lot of people noticed him and were excited about what he was doing in spring ball.
Yes.
I'm not going to sit here and say he's going to start. I'm not even going to sit here and say he's going to play significant snaps. But if called into duty, I'm not going to sleep on the fact that Ryan Foje could be this year's Caden Green.
Yeah, that's a very good point. He could come in there. And I remember it was Gabe and Teddy that was talking about it. Gabe was saying that he felt like Foje is basically an SEC guard right now in the way of his size and his speed and his movement. But 322 is amazing. I also look anymore on defensive line. Taylor Wine was the other one that jumped out to me. And we've been hearing about him. He was the last minute pickup out of it was at Brentwood, Tennessee.
Yeah.
He was, one that just the tape came out when we lost out on Colton Vasek. They're like, oh, okay, let's check out this kid and everything. He's up at like 276 pounds. Like
Jeez.
That's a monster at the edge.
Yeah.
That's your edge boy. So you add 262 from a Marvin Jones Jr. You got 249, 250 from R. Mason Thomas. Then PJ at 261. Yeah, the defensive line it's gotten beefed up in the capacity that you fans have been saying that you've been wanting.
Yep. Yeah, another true freshman that made some significant gains this offseason, Trine Washington. Like, he's ready to play.
He's big.
He's tight end ready. He's up, around 240 pounds.
Yeah.
He's already got the 6'4" size. So you're looking at a kid, 248. Like, I was shocked when I saw that. When you read that to me, Jay, absolutely shocked, because this is a kid that was making the transition from wide receiver to tight end his senior year of high school at Carl Albert. And so you wonder, okay, did he put on enough weight that senior year to come to Oklahoma as a true freshman and then be ready to contribute early? Well, he did then, and he did this offseason as well. He might. I mean, tight end is one of the biggest questions that we have on the team. Again, like I mentioned earlier this week or last week, it's not the thing that's going to keep Oklahoma from succeeding this year.
Nope.
But you do want to find somebody that's able to step up and contribute both in the run game and the passing game. And now he's got the size to do that.
Yes, he does. He's built at the spot that you want to have your tight end. Like I said, with him being at what's that 200 and 248, he's one of the larger tight ends on the actually I think he is basically the biggest outside of like Locke and Carson Kent. So out of the young guys, he's bigger than Caden Helms, he's bigger than McIntyre, he's bigger than Jaron Cannick, who's at 233. That's a nice size 233 dude, especially if he's still got the speed that we know that he has. Oklahoma may have, found a nice little diamond in the rough with him.
What about Xavier Robinson? So the dude was already a bruiser. He was what, a little over 220 last year, and he was playing well and he was playing physical. They've got him at 239.
Oh my!
I don't know really what to make of that. Like if that's good weight, if he's still going to be functional at that weight. But I imagine that they've put him through the paces, and this is something they've wanted him to do, is to continue to add that weight so that he can take that SEC pounding.
Yeah, I know that when I talked to him after high school, his goal was 215 just to try to shave some time off of his 4.540. But if they're going to bulk him up and make him a bigger back while also maintaining his speed, which we know Schmitty is really good of doing that.
Yeah.
That may actually be the game changer for Xavier Robinson going into next season. Now he is going to be at the right size that you're hoping for. And boom, from there, be that next bruising back right behind a Jaden Ott while still having Javonte Barnes, as well as, mixing in some Taylor Tatum.
Well, if there's one area where Oklahoma struggled really last year in the Brent Venables era, it's been in short yardage. They have had a really hard time converting those 3rd and 1s, those 4th and 1s. We saw it in the Armed Forces Bowl against Navy. How many short yardage plays did Oklahoma have that they didn't convert? Well, with a guy like 240 in Xavier Robinson, might be a little bit easier to convert those. Another, again, a true freshman. All these true freshmen, they came in ready to work.
Yeah.
Elijah Thomas, the Chakotay native, he's over 200 pounds. That dude's coming in thick. And a lot of people have talked about him potentially being a true freshman that could stand out and contribute early. And with all of the questions at wide receiver, I'm not going to put it past him.
Nope.
He's physically ready to play.
Yeah, he is. He's at that point right now, and he's getting there. Another one, Jake Michaela, the defensive lineman that came from Stanford, he's just under 300 pounds here. And so, which is a good thing because Troy Everett's like 310. And so that's a really good size for a center. Keeps him mobile while at the same time giving him an anchor as far as his size go. But Michaela, who we're expecting to be the successor, or he may try to supplant.
May try to start.
He's getting his body at the size and shape that you need in order to be able to participate. So pretty excited about that, John. On top of that, when you kind of go through the roster, there's a couple of things I also wanted to remind the Sooner fans out there. So we had that situation where we needed to get down to 105 players.
Yep.
So you saw a big shaving in roster. Well, that changed recently whenever the settlement actually went through. They created this designated player thing to where certain players can go ahead and enter the portal and find new homes because they're going to be hit with this. But they also allow teams to maintain and bring back kids that they had to let go because of the roster limits. Right. Well, I just found like 6 players that we basically hit the portal came back. One of the bigger names to keep your eyes on is Jocelyn Malaska, the player from Bethany, the corner, 6'1", big corner that transferred here from Utah. He's back on the roster. I saw Reed Duquazi. He was the quarterback, and he played safety here from Carl Albert when he played with Xavier Robinson. Xavier Robinson's quarterback. The year that they won the state title, X-Rob ran for like 2,500-something yards because Reed Duquazi got hurt.
Yeah.
And, Reed's back. He was healthy last year. He entered the portal. He's now back on the roster. So as I'm perusing through here, you're seeing a few more names that have returned to Oklahoma because now we can go over the 105 for the next couple of years because these kids, the House settlement basically said this settlement should not sacrifice kids' scholarships just because it's now in place. They're allowed for that grandfathering in situation.
Right. Kids that were promised a roster spot or the expectation is that they would have a roster spot are going to be able to be grandfathered in. So yeah, a nice change. You're going to continue to have that depth. Those walk-on guys are going to have an opportunity to maybe earn a role and find a role. I mean, we've seen it in the past with, guys like Jacob Jordan contributed last year. You could see that from some of these other guys as well. You never know. The final one here. Jay Knott getting number 0.
Yes.
The last time we had a 1,000-yard rusher wore number 0.
That's true. Eric Gray. That's a very good point. I didn't think of it that way.
Yeah. Perhaps we can break the trend here and we can get another 1,000-yard rusher for SEC 2025. Coming up next, Garrett Nussmeier was very praiseworthy, provided a lot of praise for a couple former Sooners. We'll discuss that coming up on Locked On Sooners. Thanks again for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. Tune in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So Garrett Nussmeier took to the podium on Monday and was asked about a couple former Oklahoma Sooners, Nick Anderson and Bauer Sharp. And here's what he had to say. Both of those guys are unbelievable players. So I'll say for one, Bauer has kind of added another level of backbone to our offense. And that type of mindset he has. He's ready to take somebody's face off and he can make plays and he's electric with the ball in his hand. We saw it a little bit. Unfortunately, the circumstances around Bauer Sharp didn't allow us to see it enough.
Not enough.
Because the offense was trash. But Nick, on the other hand, is around the same way. He's very electric, very, very good football player and makes plays on the ball in the air that are unbelievable. For him and me, it's about getting the chemistry down and the timing and getting on the same page on things. And that's what the summer has been for in spring ball. Very excited for Nick and looking forward to what he's going to be able to put out this year. Also, shout out to Nick. Hope you're recovering well. He was in a car accident. Brian Kelly disclosed that on Monday. He's not expected to miss more than a week of time. Should be back in time for fall camp.
Yeah, I kind of echo where Garrett Nussmeier is talking about these players because I've been on record saying that I would like to have Bauer Sharp here because I think that he would be great when he's not the main person. Like he's not your number one option in passing and running and catching, like all three, which is kind of an issue you run into, right? You don't want
your
tight end to be all those. Heck, we've seen it one time already, and
one time was enough.
Exactly, and that was a very bad situation, and so because of that, I do echo what Garrett Nussmeier said. And I mean, he has some very interesting quotes, and you could feel the confidence in him. And it's funny because the confidence oozing out of him like it was, you had some folks on ESPN kind of talking about asking questions if Brian Kelly should, shift to a more run-friendly, quarterback in comparison to what they currently have in Nussmeier, who's not as mobile. And that kind of led from the questions about their offensive line.
Yeah.
And Brian Kelly addressed that as well. He talked about he is very bullish on his offensive line because he feels like even though they lost 4 dudes into the draft, that the guys behind are ready to play. Be honest, John, I'm not at the same spot as him mentally, but at the same time, by the time we see them at the end of the season, they should be have jailed. So they're going to be a challenge.
Yeah. What Oklahoma's going to face in an LSU offensive line is going to be completely different than what Clemson's going to face in an LSU offensive line.
Yes.
So whatever you see week 1, just file it away because
it ain't gonna be
that's not going to be the same thing. But yeah, I mean, Bauer Sharp, for the issues that Oklahoma's offense had last year, he wasn't the biggest issue.
He was not.
Seth Luttrell, Joe John Finley put him in some really bad spots. Did he make some boneheaded plays? Absolutely. Was he trying to make a play? Absolutely. You could see the athleticism. You could see the ability. Oklahoma may miss him this year.
Yeah.
We'll see. Nick Anderson, again, the whole situation with Nick Anderson, with the whole wide receiver room last year, that's going to be one of those things that maybe in a few years we'll figure out what all went down and all of the details that transpired with the wide receiver room and the health of it and the training staff. I don't think anybody really knows. Brian Kelly addressed it. He did talk about the injuries with Nick Anderson and that they were very real last year. And we saw he tried to come back and he wasn't able to.
Yep.
So he's going to be a player that does contribute for LSU where he's at on their depth chart because they've got some really good wide receivers coming back for Garrett Nussmeier to throw to. He's not going to have to be the lead guy.
Nope.
But he's going to have an opportunity to make plays similar to that 2023 season when he wasn't the lead guy then. He was the third option in the passing game, and then Andrell Anthony got hurt and he got more opportunities after that. And I mean, we saw it. He averaged over 20 yards per reception. And so the potential is there for Nick Anderson to have a big year, but a lot of it's going to come down to, with LSU, can they block it up front long enough for Garrett Nussmeier to put it down the field? Because initially in this game against Oklahoma at the end of 2024, they were not blocking it very well.
It's funny. I was actually having a conversation with somebody about that exact thing. They were saying, when you watch the LSU game and you watch LSU play, you see that they've got some good players, but it just doesn't seem like they were able to really produce like you would think.
Right.
And you're watching, it's like the eyeball test to them was that. And I was like, didn't think about it that way.
Yeah.
Right. And you're right. Because when we went up against them, I mean, that strip sack fumble touchdown made me be like, wow, Will Campbell's going in the top 10 and he went number 4.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, oh, this is a lot more interesting than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
So I guess the question is going to be what that blocking is going to look like for LSU. And also on Nick, the question I have is, how does he move up in the depth chart?
Yeah.
We talked about this before. If there's one thing LSU's got, it's wide receivers.
Yep.
They figured that room out every single year. I mean, they're fighting right now for one of the top ones today, but they figure it out. It's like them and Ohio State somehow have a cheat code when it comes to them. Or Alabama's been doing that over the last few years as well. I mean, actually all the way back to Julio Jones, which is still really weird to me in the Julio Jones era. But they all have found ways to get these random wide receivers. You're like, wow.
Yeah.
Oklahoma was like that too. And I guess that's how Nick Anderson, they found him.
Yeah. And I actually talked about that on yesterday's show, Jay, that there are some schools that they've just created this self-fulfilling prophecy at certain positions.
Yeah.
And Oklahoma in wide receiver recruiting battles, they've got to fight a lot right now. They've got a lot of negative recruiting out there. And the only way to do that is for this group to go produce, for this group to go have a big year, to rewrite some of that narrative, rewrite the script a little bit, because right now they have nothing to hang their hat on because 2024 was a disaster.
But now, like I said, they've got to find something to hang their hat on, and then they can, prove to everybody they can do it.
And I mean, you could say the same thing a little bit for offensive line. Now, thankfully, Bill Bedenbaugh was able to withstand everything that transpired in the 2024 season and land Michael Fasusi and Ryan Foje, and then come back in the 2026 recruiting class. And, he's landed a Noah Best and he's landed a Deacon Schmidt, blue chip prospects on the offensive line. Now it's up to Emmett Jones to get that group up and going, because I remember, man, at the end of that 2023 season, how hyped we were for the future, because Nick Anderson had just had the season that he had, averaging 20 yards per reception. Jaden Gibson started getting looks as the 4th wide receiver, was averaging over 20 yards per reception, and absolutely punked a TCU defensive back while he drug him to the end zone, literally, while he's like celebrating with the fans 5 yards out from the end zone.
Just hand up in the air. It's beautiful. He's just like, touchdown.
If a wide receiver or was a picture, it'd be that one.
That would be it, definitely.
It's not that long ago that Oklahoma's wide receiver room was really, really good.
Yeah.
It's just everything that went bad on the offensive line or on the offensive side of the ball went bad. And now Oklahoma's got to recover from it. Now, if they can land a Davian Gross, I think that gives them some really positive momentum with him and a Daniel Odom, 2 blue chip prospects for the 2026 class that Emmett Jones can hang his hat on. Ben Arbuckle can hang his hat on as they move towards 2027.
Yeah, I'm hoping Gross comes through in the next month, because we could definitely use some good luck and some good juju when it comes to that. But hey, at some point we're gonna see this recruiting get to the point that we want it to. I mean, we still got a lot of blue chips already, and you still got a lot of time, man. It's only July.
It's only
12. We're gonna get there. I know. I have faith in this staff. I mean, they typically have themselves done by the end of August. And we're probably in line to be closer to that again as well. Now, we may have some players, again, that we're probably chasing. We got Fasusi in August, and we still had to continue to recruit him all the way until December, just because the speculation around the staff being fired after firing the offensive coordinator, when we all knew that the offensive coordinator we're bringing in was not going to be one that's going to get rid of Bill Bedenbaugh. That's off the table.
That's right.
Fasusi showed you that, no, I want to play for Big B, and he played for him. So we'll see. We've got time. Let's just be patient I know y'all aren't patient, but I think we'll be all right.
Well, listen, I'll be honest. My faith is waning a little bit.
John, you got to be better.
I'm a hater, and it's probably only because
he really is.
I only got 2.5 hours sleep last night. So that's part of it, but that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Sooners. Hey, make sure you wish my man Jay a happy birthday.
Thank you.
His birthday on Monday as we're recording this, so make sure you hit him up both in the YouTube and on the social medias. Go follow him on Twitter, Unfair Sports.
Yeah.
He says X. I say Twitter.
I say Twitter.
I'm a
Expert.
I'm a traditionalist. Can't help it. Make sure you subscribe to his show on YouTube, Unfair Sports, as well. You can follow the show at Locked On Sooners wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available on all podcast platforms. Go check out the portal with Brian Smith, giving you all the latest in transfer portal and recruiting news for your second listen of the day. But until next time, he's Jay Smith. I'm John Williams. We'll talk to you then. Boomer.
Sooner. Make sure you follow John as well over at John Williams. Make sure you know.